Here.
Present.
Mr. Montel?
Here.
Mrs. Ham?
Here.
Mr. Allen?
Here.
Mr. Sheep?
Here.
Phipps?
Here.
Mrs. Walliser?
For coming this evening. I really appreciate your willingness to come out on a beautiful June night. You probably wouldn't have 1,000 other places you'd rather be than sitting here in the meeting, but I do greatly appreciate you coming out. This is a great opportunity for us as a school district, as a school board, to recognize some phenomenal athletes as we're going to be doing this evening here. We do have one recognition before we get to our athletic recognitions, and that is a retirement I'd like to recognize. So if I could have Shelly Adams please come up. You have another retirement this evening, but we're going to hold on that one because we have a couple athletic recognitions that we'd like to do this evening. As we went through the fall season, as we went through the winter season, and now the spring season, we've had an opportunity to do different each at the end of each season an athletic award ceremony. This year in particular, during the spring season, we had some amazing athletes that have accomplished some great strides. And so we wanted to take some time during this school board meeting to recognize those. Mrs. Conrad was going to present those. Unfortunately, about an hour ago, she notified us she wasn't going to be able to attend this evening. So she did share some comments that I'd like to reflect on behalf of the students we're going to be recognizing here. So first, I'd like to ask Caitlin Stevenson to come forward. Caitlin? So Caitlin is an 8th grader. It is not often we recognize a middle school student at this level. Let me just share a little bit of accolades of what Caitlin has been able to accomplish in her 2 years, 7th and 8th grade, in the middle school softball program. Caitlin has earned over 100 career strikeouts this season. Caitlin finished this season with a total of 134 strikeouts. Is that right? All right. Her batting average, not just a great pitcher, but her batting average was 647. She has an on-base percentage of 692. She also hit 3 home runs this season. we look forward to having Caitlin join us in the high school. I know you are going to continue to be a phenomenal athlete. What you have done here in 8th grade is remarkable. Mr. Roach, maybe you don't want to put your retirement in yet. You have some amazing talent coming up. We just want to wish thank you for all you've done. That is a huge accomplishment. You're going to still play in high school, right?
Yeah.
All right. Any reflections on the season or what you've been able to do?
It was a great season. I love the girls. They always have like a positive attitude. Just want to thank them for that. I want to thank Coach Tony for always having my back.
Nice.
And looking forward to next season.
Awesome. Congratulations. Great job.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to recognize Braden Ambruster. I don't think he's able to make it this evening. So Braden has been a longtime volleyball player. He's a senior this year. He accomplished something that is very rare. I actually am not sure if it has happened in our high school career before this time. He was able to attain 1,000 career kills. So that is pretty impressive. If you know anything about volleyball, that is very impressive. He's been able to. He also is the first time boys volleyball Division II honorable mention in 2021. In 2022, 23, and 24, he was the boys volleyball all conference team. And then in 23, 24, he was the all district team. So he has racked up a ton of ability to gain a lot of recognition at his level. He's going to continue playing and pursuing his athletic career and his academic career at Elizabethtown College, looking to major in being a physical therapist. So we wish Braden the best of luck. And again, an amazing accomplishment of 1,000 career kills for him. So. Next up, we have going to baseball, Nathan Freinhauser. So, Nathan, if you don't mind coming over here. So, Nate's a senior. He's going to be graduating, and you are going to Misericordia, correct? Yes. So, Nathan was able to do 100 career strikeouts this season. He was also the team captain for the 23-24 school year. He is the 3-time All-Division IV recipient for the BCIAA. Anything else that I'm missing? All right. Do you know how over the course of your 4 careers, how many strikeouts you had, putting you on the spot?
It was just over 100. That was all 4 years.
That was for all 4 years.
Yeah.
All right. And what are you pitching up in Misericordia as well?
Yeah.
All right. And you started already playing, I understand, right?
Yeah.
How's that going?
It's going well.
Sporting the MU shirt already?
Yes.
Anything you want to share about the season or what you've been able to do here for anyone?
Not as successful as we would have liked, but we had a really good time. And I obviously want to thank Coach Cole for letting us here tonight, but he did a great job, and I want to thank him for coming back for my last year because it really made it the best we could have made it. So
That's
thank
awesome.
you to him. Yeah. Good.
And thank you, Mom and Dad, for joining this evening. Congratulations. Next, I'd like to recognize the girls softball team. So if the girls softball team is here, if you don't mind standing up, coming up here, whoever might be here. Is there only 3 of you? All right, come on, girls. So here are some accolades of what this team did this year. The high school softball team won the PIAA District 3 championship and qualified for the PIAA softball tournament. This is the 11th District 3 championship won by the team in school history. Unfortunately, the team's season ended during the first round of PIAA state tournament. This group of athletes showed unwavering dedication to the sport throughout the season and defied all odds by having only 11 girls for the majority of the season. They battled every single game and let it all out on the field. We couldn't be more proud of them. Girls, do you want to share a little bit about what your season was like? Ashley? I'm calling you. You're a phenomenal public speaker. It's like you did just a graduation or something.
Yeah. It was tough out of those games that we had, 8 or 9 players. That was pretty hard. But other than that, I think we really picked it up and did our thing.
How did it feel going through the season as you got towards the end of it and you continue building momentum and getting more wins?
I don't know, it just got better as we won. It just felt like we could actually do something
really actually kind of go far.
Got a spark of excitement in you?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
You guys did amazing getting to states and what you were able to accomplish. Great job, ladies. Great job. Congratulations. You want to stay up here?
Stay up
Yeah, should you stay up here? We'll hang out with Coach. We're going to recognize Coach.
Yeah. Okay, you should.
All right, mister. So finally, we like to recognize Coach Don Roach. He has been a coach for 25 years for the school district. When I think of Coach, I've shared so many accolades about you that you don't know about, but there's conversations already come up with superintendents about sports. I don't know why. I guess that's our thing. We always end up talking softball. And I always say, Don Roach, he's this longtime coach. He just takes all these girls every year, puts them together, and somehow makes a phenomenal winning team. You have the gift to inspire people. You have a gift to pull teams together. You have a gift to take girls that maybe played together before, maybe didn't play together before, and put them together to create a winning team. That is not a coach. That's a life skills person. That is someone that is a leader. I appreciate what you've been able to do because those talents are not often seen. They're not seen in high school level. They're not seen in college level. And not seen at the professional level. You've been able to do something very special here with this program. And it is a tremendous loss to us. I thank you for what you've done over 25 years. And if I can just share some accolades here that were shared with Mrs. Conrad. Coach Roach coached 552 games over his career, had a record of 426 wins, 126 losses, a Berks County League game record of 254 wins and only 42 losses, 13 division titles. The playoff record was 27 wins and 12 losses. There were 6 wins for the Berks County Championship and 4 runner-ups. The Division III playoff record was 39 wins and 10 losses. The Division III championships, there's 11 championships and 2 runners-ups. The PA State playoff record was 23 wins and 11 losses, and 1 amazing state championship with 5 runner-ups. That is a huge testament for what you've been able to do. Do you have anything you'd like to share?
If I can speak. All I know, I never threw a ball, I never caught a ball, I never hit a ball, I never pitched a ball in any of those games. And yeah, I was there, but these are the ones that did it. Not me. I never stepped on the field at all. So thanks for the the honor. But I've just been blessed with girls that actually really wanted to play. They were there for a purpose. They were there because they wanted to be there. We never made anybody do anything that they didn't want to do. What they did was because it's what they wanted. And that's always been the philosophy. And I don't know, if I'm lying, you can tell me. But the credit goes to them. I mean, they put the time in. And, you know, they start on day one and they go through the pain, ouchies, scratches, and up to the end, and they're still going. That's a round of clicks for you. But yeah, the total success of the program, has a lot to do with the parents. The parents making the sacrifice to bring their daughters early in their academic career before they can drive and whatnot, getting them to practices, picking them up, being here, being there. That's a sacrifice too. So it's almost a communal effort. Parents, athletes, assistant coaches, and I get to hang out.
Well, thank you for all you've done. After 25 years, amazingly huge shoes that we have to try to fill, but you have made a lasting impact on so many girls, most importantly, and on the school district. So thank you for all you've done. And on behalf of the school district, we'd like to present you a plaque for 25 years of dedicated service.
Awesome. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That I kind of made up, so. This is what
I do
Sarah
that all the
should.
time. Thank you.
Guests that are here, thank you again so much for your willingness to come out this evening. You are more than welcome to stay for the remainder of the evening. If you would choose to enjoy the beautiful weather, you can also go do that. We would like to catch a picture of those that are here this morning. Mrs. Connect is there, and she's going to get a picture of you outside in the hallway. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Is there any public comment relative to agenda items? Hearing none. Moving on to Board of Directors report. Could I get a motion and a second, please?
Second right now.
So a few items under the Board of Directors report this evening. We have the meeting minutes from last school board meeting, which was May 6th. Any corrections or additions that need to be made to those meeting minutes? Okay, none heard. Then the meetings will stand. We do have first reading policies. Those first reading policies for this evening are eligibility of non-residents. That is a policy that we put in place to evaluate how we're going to handle non-residents, students that may be interested in coming to the school district. Also has a clause in there for families that are leaving the school district. So if there's a family that is leaving the school district during their senior year and have at least started the school year, we allow them to finish the senior year. If it's a student that's K-11 and is transitioning and they are going to be moving out of school district for some reason, and it's within the last quarter of the year, we allow them to finish up that last quarter. So that's essentially what that policy puts in play. It helps with the transition for our students, most importantly. There also is a 203 immunizations and communicable diseases policy, 2031 HIV infections, and then finally 815.1 social media. Nothing too significant on that, some minor changes, but there's no massive changes on that. Item C is second reading of policies. Those are from last month, so unless there's any changes, those will stand and be approved and officially become new policies for the school district. Item D is to appoint delegates to the PSBA 2024 delegate. That's going to be happening Saturday, November 2nd. It is an in-person meeting, and there also is a virtual option. Last year, we had Mrs. Eisenhart attend, as well as Mrs. Walliser. So I'm not sure, ladies, if you'd like to attend that again, or if someone else would like to be interested in going to that.
I did it virtually. I'm up for it if you would like me to, if anyone else wants to. And yeah, if anyone else would like to take my spot.
What day is the date?
It's Saturday, November 2nd.
We have enough free time. If nobody else wants to go all day, but I should be able to get there.
Mrs. Eisenhart, you said you are okay going?
Yeah.
Any other interest? Mrs. Walliser, you're good with giving it up? Mr. Sheets, if you're able to attend, we'll put you in there. Thank you.
Road trip?
Road trip.
Or virtual link, one or the other. Item E is to approve an MOU with the Fleetwood Police. So we have two MOUs because our school district is serviced by two law enforcement agencies, the state police for all three school districts or all three school buildings, and then Fleetwood Police for the borough of Topton. So that captures the elementary and this building, the middle school. The Fleetwood Police is here 40 hours a week in the borough. So, and it's rotating hours. So when they're not here, the state police are the ones on covering. So we have two MOUs with both law enforcement agencies, state police and Fleetwood Police. They basically rotate every 2 years. And so last year we approved the state police one. This year we're approving Fleetwood Police one, and they'll just keep rotating back and forth. It'd be nice if they were on the same cycle, but they're not. So that's the MOU with the Fleetwood Police. They do mirror each other with the state police and Fleetwood Police, but again, just different year cycles. And then finally, F is to reaffirm Saxon Stump, Mr. Pratt, to continue as our school district solicitor. We do this annually. That rate that is there's no change to that rate. And it is worth noting that there is no retention fee. Sometimes when you engage with a legal firm, they put a retention clause in there. There is no retention clause. It's just a straight hourly rate for services. Any questions on the agenda items? Mr. Pratt, thank you for continuing to serve the school district.
Thank you.
Mr. Wagman wants me to.
Yeah. So it's a deal. The service we get, it's a deal. Okay, moving on to committee reports. BCIU, Mrs. Hune.
Good evening, everyone. The BCIU Board of Directors last met on Thursday, May 16th. I jotted down a handful of highlights in the written report there, and I know we have a full agenda tonight, so I won't expand on anything critical. The next meeting is Thursday, June 20th.
Thank you very much. BCTC, Mr. Reitenauer.
BCTC met on May 22nd at the East Campus. BCTC was one of 2 VOTECs out of the state to win the Crime and Delinquency School Safety and Security Grant for $428,000. I just wanted to make a note that Senator Paniak had a great deal in helping BCTC secure this grant. She is an amazing woman. I'll just throw that out there. With the grant, both campuses are getting all new smart locks, 16 new cameras, and new motorized gates at both campuses. May 28th was senior recognition ceremony at the Santander. May 31st was the last day of school for students and staff, and June 26th is the next meeting at the West Campus.
Thank you very much. Bergstern income tax. Nicole.
So I have nothing to report. We did not meet since the last board meeting. Our next scheduled meeting will be Thursday, June 27th.
Thank you. Cola, Mrs. Walliser.
Mr. Pottinger gave a good comprehensive email to all of us, so I won't go into much detail, but just want to encourage everyone to continue to reach out to our local legislators and encourage them to support the budget, and hopefully it will get passed before July 1st.
Thank you. Policy Committee, Mr. Reitenauer.
Tonight at our meeting was policy first readings of policy 202, 203, 203.1, and 815.1. Secondary reading will be August 12th.
Thank you. Strategic planning, Mrs. Eisenhart.
Nothing to report on strategic planning. The goals was presented last meeting. So,
And the floor is still yours for
negotiations. We are still in communication with the association, and we'll be continuing our talks.
Thank you. Building and Construction Committee.
So it's been a waiting game this past month since we met. May 17th, we received information from DEP that our MPDES permit was denied a second time. It was resubmitted on May 21st. We just found out today, so sorry this isn't updated, but late today, that we were approved for the DEP permit. So that's huge. Now it's some next steps trying to figure that out, but that is breaking news that just happened. So that's a happy thing to celebrate for us. So that's the big news. Next steps, we'll have to reconvene, try to figure out next steps where we are with the project, and then most likely have to hold a special board meeting at some point in the next few weeks here to award the contracts, because the contracts have not been awarded to move forward with the project. So that's really the next big step, is to present that to the board. And that's a heavy decision, obviously, to decide to move forward with that project or not. So we'll make sure there's ample time so you know about that meeting, so we can try to coordinate best with schedules, and knowing that there's a lot of vacations and things like that going on. But I do need to recalibrate with the board construction committee first to just get us back on the same page. Okay.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Hearing.
Mrs. Eisenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Hochschild?
Yeah.
Mrs. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mr. Heath?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace? Yes. Mr. Wagner?
Yes.
9 years, motion passes.
All right, can I get a motion and second?
Motion right now.
There you go.
Second, Stubitz.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so my apologies in advance. This is quite an agenda this year. Well, for June, it's probably our longest one yet. But actually, my goal was I was trying to get to item Z, so I didn't quite make it. But so to get started, items A through D is to approve the bills through May 6th. General fund, we had a total of $1,361,215.23. Item B, food service fund bills totaling $38,605.94. Construction fund bills totaled $18,580.06. Capital reserve totaling $22,320.50. And then item E is the financial reports through April. And then moving on to special ed pupil services. Item 1, asking you to approve an agreement with Ole Valley School District for 2 students to continue their educational pathway in the agricultural CTC program for the 24-25 school year. And just kind of a reminder, just quickly, any of the students who are currently in the ag program at Ole will continue essentially their full program at the ag program in Ole, even though we are starting our own ag program. So it would be new students only. And I believe you have a few.
Sure, just similar to that. That was something that as we went through the process with the Department of Education, that was a conversation point of what our students who are existing in the pipeline through Ole Valley. The choices that they could return to our program or they could stay with Ole. That is the choice of the families. And the fact that these students are already established in the FFA chapter at Ole, established in the coursework there, it is in the best interest of those students to remain. However, moving forward, any students, will have the opportunity to go through our program. And since our program will have this exact same not B code that Ole offers, which is basically the BCTC language for the certification area, that's something that those students will then matriculate into our program as opposed to Ole or Kutztown or any other agriculture program.
Thank you, Mr. Farina. Item 2 is to approve the agreement for special education services for the 24-25 school year with the BCIU at a cost by the classification of services as attached. So you'll see special ed, we're approving the agreement, curriculum instruction, and also on the business side, there's 3 agreements with the IU. Each one had nominal increases about $1 to $3 per classification. So it was a slight increase in all the categories. Item 3 is to approve the LEA agreement with for Pennsylvania School-Based Access Program for the 24-25 school year. And I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Kircher to say a few words.
Thank you. So you're aware you provided support with getting that program up and running this year. Mrs. Sibley has been doing a phenomenal job. Please know that we have identified 117 eligible students. Out of that total right now, we are billing for approximately half of those students. So we're still working with some parents to get their permissions. And also we had to revise some IEPs in order to ensure that all of the areas that we could be billing for do fall in alignment with what the Access Program permits and allows for. So the state, because they are adopting a new portal for this year, is running approximately 6 months behind because they had issues with the onboarding of the new platform system, and until they have those pieces adjusted, we have been working back and forth with the contacts there through various training sessions and also going to meetings at BCIU, and Mrs. Sibley has been working closely with our contacts there to just coordinate the training and figure out the best practices in regards to the new platform. So we have been working with Ms. Delberto to get all of those things situated. Right now, we had to revise 31 IEPs in May to make sure that when we were notified in that April update, that certain things were not aligning to what they needed to approve. We have to make those adjustments. So she's been on top of those things and communicating with our teachers, reaching out to families, and doing a nice job with that piece.
Thank you. And item 4 is to approve an agreement for returning district students to attend the CCIU. One student in particular will be attending the TEACH program at the Technical College High School Pickering campus for the 24-25 school year, and the other will attend the Gateway program. We will provide transportation services and also ESY for the summer of 2025 at a total cost of $109,362.60. So that is, it'll show you the increase from prior year, about $45 a day. Item 5 is to approve a tuition agreement with Capstone Academy for the 24-25 school year for districts for a student at a cost of $93,875 as attached. Item 6 is to approve an Act 48 program for services for alternative education for disruptive youth. This will be at River Rock Academy for the 24-25 school year at a per diem rate indicated on the contract for services. So again, that is also dependent on which type of services that they receive. Item 7 is to approve the contract for services, should we need it, for the 24-25 school year, for River Rock Academy, the Sinking Spring campus for grades 7 through 12 at the AEDY program at a per diem rate of $217.22 per day, and the Amity campus for elementary at a per diem rate of $238.94 per day. Item 8 is to approve. Sure.
That is just the oldest spot. We're not paying that. That's just if we need to engage that. Some of these agencies, particularly River Rock, are doing pre-purchases, so districts are buying slots that are sending their kids there. When you look at that amount of dollars, it is a lot of money that doesn't go to really anything. So it's not a philosophy that we've taken. I don't believe in that philosophy, but this just holds it. It basically puts a contract in place if they're able.
And just
But we are not looking to buy a slot, just to make sure.
By law, we have to have some type of contract in place to show that we have a program for an AEDY placement if needed. So this contract agreement covers that and checks the box that we have an agreement with another agency in the case that that would happen. However, as Mr. Potiver said, we reach out to a variety of locations as well, depending on the needs of the job.
And also something that you'll kind of see, people are buying slots. So really, supply and demand. As you can see in items 5, 4, and 5, the costs are really increasing just based on availability. I think a couple years ago, we'd be lucky if tuition, we would be unlucky if we saw one that was over 70,000, and now that's almost common. So just something that we have to keep an eye on. So item 8 is to approve an agreement with LinkedIn Literacy for structured literacy instruction in person and virtual using Wilson Reading System and or Orton Gillingham for the 24-25 school year at a cost of $128.75 per hour as attached.
So just to give an update with that piece, so Wilson Reading Instruction is a Tier 3 resource that we've been utilizing with our special education students who have a reading need in the area of phonics, fluency, or comprehension. Mrs. Raver from LinkedIn Literacy has been working particularly with 2 of our students this year. We have onboarded one of our special education teachers with full certification. So next year, that instructor will be able to work with the one student here in the middle school. Mrs. Raver is going to stay on board with us to continue instruction with our one student in the intermediate building. In the meantime, we are training 5 of our special education staff with 3-day intensive.
All right, thank you. The next one Item 9 is to approve an MOU with Berks County Head Start as required by Every Student Succeeds Act as attached. Item 10 is to approve an addendum to the agreement between Brandywine Heights Area School District and ESS Support Services for the provision of adding staffing for the SWEEP program. So essentially, there's no change in the agreement, except we are adding an additional classification for the SWEEP program. And then moving on to curriculum and technology, item 1 is to approve an agreement with Imagine Learning and Genuity for the 24 summer program for Virtual Academy online curriculum, grades 6 through 12, with instructional services at a cost of $175 per course. And that is no change from the prior year. And that will also be the case in the next several items. So item 2 is to approve an agreement with Imagine Learning and Genuity for the 24-25 school year, again for Virtual Academy online instruction, grades 6 through 12, with instructional services at a cost of $260 per course per student, and online curriculum grades K through 5 with instructional services and workbooks at a cost of $1,100 for a full-time student per semester. Moving on to item 3, to approve an agreement with Imagine Learning and Genuity for 24-25 school year for the Virtual Academy. This is content only, grades 9 through 12 at a cost of $99 per student with Brandywine Heights teachers. So the first 2 was not our teachers, and you'll see here that these would be our teachers. Moving on to item 4 is to approve an agreement with Accelerate Education Incorporated for the 24-25 school year to provide Virtual Academy online instruction with instructional services at a cost of $1,329 for a full-time seat per semester. And that's a $164 increase from the prior year. Online curriculum with instructional services at a cost of $289 per course. And that is no change from the prior year. The next one is, again, this is a continuation of an agreement that we've had for several years to approve the continued participation in the Berks County Education Technology Pool Council Consortium to share consulting services provided by the law firm of Sweet Stevens, Katz & Williams, LLP, at a rate of $577.50 annually. And that's an increase of $27.50. The next one, this is a new agreement, is to ratify an agreement with Vivi, LLC, to provide wireless display technology for grades 3 through 12 classrooms from May 3rd, 2024 through June 30, 27 at a yearly rate of $14,900, which equates to $149 per device. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Mrs. Cadet, to say a few words.
Good evening. At our budget presentation for technology, I shared a little bit about Vivi's, but to recap that, our teachers for the last many years have had the opportunity to walk around their classroom freely with their laptop due to a little device that we could put on either their TV or their projector. Those devices are from Microsoft and they no longer make them and stop supporting them. So over the last 2 years, they've been dropping connection throughout classes, which is disruptive, and then they have to reconnect. And we've been trying to find a solution that doesn't lock them down to being tied to an HDMI cord, which a lot of our classes have right now, and that they could still walk around their classrooms. So one of the things I investigated this year was wireless display options. We looked at 5 different companies: Airtame, Vivi, Dittos, and AirieCast and EasyCast Pro. And the prices ranged a lot. What I've found, though, is where Microsoft used to have a one-time you could buy that little adapter for the back of the TV, everybody now charges a yearly fee, which I wasn't super thrilled with. But looking at what services do they provide, the Vivis actually were one of the cheaper options. It's only a adapter that we needed to buy that comes with their yearly licensing that we do pay for. But it gives us the opportunity that the student Chromebooks can actually request from the teacher to share their screen. So if the teacher is looking at sharing students' math work, they can actually show 4 students' work up on the board at the same time. They have to look at it, approve it first, so a student can't just take over, but they'll have that opportunity to share those students' work rather than just walking around or maybe having them go up to the board to replicate that work. So that time efficiency and that ability to share directly from a student's screen is an added feature of that. So our techs are actually working on installing them. They did a delayed invoice for us so we could get them up and running. And we did a pilot this year with 10 teachers from February till the end of the year. And that pilot was very successful. They weren't dropping connections. Teachers were able to share screens, and that ability to, again, walk freely around their classroom, which we take for granted sometimes until you're stuck to that HDMI cord, has really been a success, and teachers were really excited about it. So initially at the budget meeting, I had shared this would be 6 through 12. After looking through our classroom tech inventory and figuring out how many specifically do we need, how can some of our classrooms have 2 displays in them, and many of our teachers said, I want it to be the same. Great, we can just use a splitter for that. We're actually able to push it all the way down to 3rd grade, which covers all of our classrooms with Chromebooks. And our K through 2 students already have Apple Classrooms, so they can share their iPad screen to the TVs, and those have been in place for a while. So K through 12, we will have a consistent wireless display option. It's a little bit about Vivi.
All right, so the next one, moving on, as mentioned earlier, it's a BCIU annual services agreement. This one is to approve the agreement for student information services for the 24-25 school year with the BCIU at a cost per the attachment. This is really primarily our Infinite Campus agreement, which is our student information services. The last one, item 8, is to approve an agreement for PIM submission support services for the 24-25 school year with the BCIU at a rate of $100 per hour, but at a cost not to exceed $8,000. So formally, we had Jennifer Langen doing our PIM support. She is kind of moving away from that role. So we had to, Mrs. Connect had to do a little bit of homework and see if we could find some part-time consulting PIM support. So I believe she found either the BCIU or someone called the PIMS people. PIMS people were over 20,000, way beyond our budget. But the BCIU was reasonable, so there would be $100 an hour. Jennifer was $72 an hour at essentially a cost not to exceed $7,500. So it's not too far off from what we had. And the nice part is it is a BCIU, so we have a good working relationship with them already. So moving on to facilities maintenance. Item 1 is to approve the service agreement with Reading Bearing and Drive Solutions for the annual generator preventative maintenance for the 24-25 school year at a cost of $2,015. This is up $30 from the prior year as attached. So you'll see a lot of these are annual agreements and also a lot of projects from the Capital Reserve Fund that we'll be trying to accomplish over the summer. Item 2 is to approve an extension of the current 2-year contract with True Green to provide field maintenance services as the specifications for the low bid of $28,111 for the 24-25 school year and 25-26 school year as detailed in the attachment. Any extra spraying would be billed at $165 an hour. So this is essentially a continuation of our current one. We did go out to bid 2 years ago, so they were the lowest bid at that time. Item 3 is to approve the list of unneeded, unnecessary equipment and to authorize the administration to recycle, sell, dispose of the items as attached. The red tag yard sale is tentatively scheduled for Tuesday, June 25th. Again, this is our annual, call it clean out of obsolete equipment, supplies that we no longer have a need for, but perhaps someone in the community could use themselves. Item 4 is to ratify the change order number 1 with Brewer Garrett related to the high school ESCO project totaling $39,438 as attached. This is a replacement of the 20 relief dampers at the high school. As you may or may not recall, Brewer Garrett was the ESCO company and the prime contractor for the chiller replacement and the auditorium lighting. So this essentially is a change order, but it's kind of deviating away, but somewhat related to the chiller project. So anybody that has gone into the high school over the last couple of years, you'll see that there was a pressurization issue. So essentially, go in, naturally the door should close behind you, and you would see that it either wouldn't close at all or it would take a long time to close. So essentially, the relief dampers throughout the entire building have not been working. They haven't been working for a couple of years. So they were essentially stuck. Well, they were essentially closed. And they could not get them open. So they're going to replace all of them. And kind of working through this with Provident Energy and also Brewer Garrett, it would have been, we would have had someone come out and look at it, say HT Lions, for example, it would have been about $10,000 just to inspect it and provide a scope of work to find out what the root cause. But to replace them all was $28,000. So that's what we're going to go with. And also we had a $5,000 credit that we had to use. So this will be applied against that as well. And item 5 is to approve the Sourcewell contract quote with Ready to Go restroom trailers of Pittsburgh, PA to procure a portable 2-stall restroom trailer in the amount of $33,395 as attached. So over the years, there's been a need we've had to rent porta-johns at several of the athletic facilities. Many who go to events, or I would say more so the coaches and student athletes, if you come to the intermediate middle school, down at the field, there is no bathroom besides if we would rent a porta-john. There is the gang bathrooms all the way up top, but during an event, you really can't just run up and go. So we had looked into having or building restrooms, and it was easily $200,000 just for, a single restroom once you run electric and water, etc. And that would have been intermediate middle school, field hockey out front at the high school. I know softball, they rent porta-johns too as well. So this was really a unique proposal, but one that would work at a very affordable rate compared to what we were getting otherwise. So this is a portable trailer. It is $33,000, but it is a 2-stall restroom. So essentially you just hook it up. We could hook it up with one of the maintenance trucks and move it from facility by season. So in the fall, it essentially could be here at the intermediate middle school for soccer. And then essentially we could move it over in the spring to the high school. Just, a regular 2-inch ball hitch, and we can move it. We will still have someone come out and service it. But everything inside is stainless steel. So really just pressure wash it down and it's good to go. And it will be winterized. And essentially the only really thing that we need to worry about is getting it serviced to clean that out. But do you want to say anything about that? Okay.
So the other thought we had with this is that we're offering potential there's events like a wedding or something like that, so we might be able to get some income off of it as well.
So the next one, item 6, this is something we participate in annually, is to accept the 24-25 bid awards from the BCIU for custodial supplies at a cost of $10,059.62. Item 7 is to approve the proposal with Alarm Tech Suppression to inspect the fire extinguishers for the 24-25 school year at a cost of $800. That's up $55 from the prior year as attached. The next one, again, Alarm Tech, but this is to inspect and test the kitchen exhaust hoods for the 24-25 school year at a cost of $1,696, and that's up $212 from the prior year. The next one is to approve a proposal with Master Library to provide a web-based solution for maintenance requests, planned maintenance, asset and inventory management, and dashboards starting July 1, essentially for the 24-25 school year at a cost of $2,250 annually, with a one-time implementation and training of $800. So a little bit of background on this one is at the May board meeting, we've historically used FMX as our maintenance requests software program. And I think Mr. Potiger and I just kind of filling in for Director of Buildings and Grounds. We use Master Library for facilities rentals and FMX really for the maintenance request, and they don't talk to each other. So essentially, if you put in a facility request, but you really need something, whether it be, set up chairs or really anything, or you just need a custodian at the event, you would have to put in the facility rental, and then also you'd have to go to FMX and put in all the custodian needs, essentially. So it's really, you're doing double the work. So we kind of said, let's explore. Master Library also offers something similar. So Mrs. Kowalewski and I sat through a webinar and essentially learned more about Master Library and said, can we really just marry these two needs together? So that's essentially what we're asking you to approve. If we could essentially have our maintenance program be part of the Master Library as well. So essentially someone would go put in facility need, whether it be internal or external, it'll automatically populate over on the maintenance side. And also, on a positive note, it would also be $1,307.50 cheaper if we combine the two. So we are hopeful that you approve that, and then they are going to help us do the conversion. So it should be pretty seamless. And then with that, I've still held the agreements from FMX. It's sitting on my desk. So we would just not move forward with that and discontinue services as of June 30. The next one is to approve the CoStars contract with the Brenneman Company out of Lancaster for resurfacing of the high school tennis courts for a total cost of $75,000. So the tennis courts have essentially, the condition has been deteriorating for the last several years. I would say over the last 5 years, we put in almost $20,000 in repairs. And then to move forward with there's a huge crack that runs all the way across the courts now. I believe was it $6,000 to repair?
2 years.
Correct. So they came out and assessed it. They've been doing the repairs historically, but they said really, the lifespan on this court is about another 2 years max. So the total cost, we might as well just stop doing the repairs and bump up the schedule to have that replaced now versus in 2 years. So the total cost would be $75,000, and they are actually coming out this Thursday or Friday to start. All right, they're coming out tomorrow. So we've had the maintenance guys. They have the court ready to go. So we look forward to that, and it will be Brandywine colors, this court surface. So the next one, moving on, the item 11 is to approve the proposal with Keystone Fire and Safety for alarm system monitoring at the elementary, intermediate, middle, and high schools for the 24-25 school year at a total cost of $2,975 as attached. So Keystone Fire, historically, they had done all 3 buildings, and somewhere along the lines we had split. So they had only done the elementary, and Protect Alarms had done the intermediate, middle, and also the high school. I had reached out for them and had them come out to see if they could give us a proposal to revert back to monitoring all 3 buildings, just so we're working exclusively with the one vendor. So that's the direction we're going to move forward to July 1. Item 12 is to approve the CoStars proposals with Division 9 contract flooring of Fleetwood to replace flooring in the following locations as detailed. Again, this is a capital reserve funded project that will occur over the summer. So the elementary school cafeteria, this was actually on the capital reserve project schedule last summer. The total cost would be $23,080. The high school library, $28,260. The high school auditorium, both levels, would be $50,363. And the technology office or room, which is right over here, you'll see for $3,800. And that is also continuing our multi-year flooring replacement throughout the district that we've been doing the last couple of years. Item 13 is to approve an agreement with Keystone Fire and Security for the multi-system support agreement at a cost of $19,686. This is really Genetec cameras, the access control, intercoms, clocks, sound system, video surveillance. And essentially, this is probably the last year on that, because with the PCCD camera upgrade, we'll be able to move away because we won't have the Genetec cameras anymore. So just kind of an FYI for the future. So that would be it. We'll save some money there. So item 14 is to approve the CoStar's proposal with Entertainment ESG of Allentown, PA for the replacement of the audio, sound, and control systems in the high school for a base quote of $56,652.23 with a digital audio console upgrade for $5,818.26 for a total of $62,470.85. Essentially, we have an analog console now. It will move to the digital and also will increase the sound system that was also on the capital reserve projects for last year as well. Item 15 is to approve the lowest responsible quote by Lenny Wells Paving LLC for the intermediate middle school macadam ramp project. That includes the installation of the ADA compliant ramp for $6,500 is attached. This was a project that with the construction committee we had looked at during the fall. So we're kind of back on getting this project moving forward. Item 16 is to approve the following food service and repair quotes per H16. Item A is to approve the annual service and preventative maintenance agreement with Longacre Company. That is the one who currently provides the service to do commercial food service refrigeration repairs for the 24-25 school year. Item B is to approve the annual service agreement with K&D. Again, they're a current vendor to do the food service equipment repairs for the 24-25 school year. Item 17, this was also on the capital reserve projects, is to ratify an agreement with Mountain Research LLC of Altoona for the removal of 2 underground storage tanks at there's one here at the Brandywine Heights Intermediate Middle School at the parking lot by the loading dock where you enter for the business office, and also at the elementary school at a cost of $54,508. The reason why we want to get this done sooner rather than later is we do have that pre-K grant. One of the areas that we would like to upgrade is to have a pre-K playground. And currently that playground with some older playground equipment is right where that oil tank is. So if you would want to do any, pour and play or any of the rubber, it would have to go right there. So it doesn't make sense to invest in that and then have it to rip it up later when we bring out that oil tank. So that is scheduled for July 8th. They will both come out. So the next one, item 18, is to approve the lowest bid for the replacement of the intermediate middle school perimeter fencing to Rocky Ridge Fencing and General Contracting of New Holland at a total cost of $16,000. So this is essentially the fencing that goes, if you go right out here on White Street, the fencing that goes all the way around. So that is that project. The next one is to approve the replacement of the intermediate middle school tennis court fence at a total cost of $11,474.70. So this would be the tennis court out here that really is used for phys ed primarily and also community use. The next one, item 20, is to approve the replacement of the intermediate middle school baseball and softball backstop and fencing at a total cost of $11,422.82. So this is eventually the backstops and also the fencing that's in front of the dugouts. Again, these were all part of the projects that were on the capital reserve list for this 23-24 year. Item I is to approve. Sure.
So 2 things. One, the tennis court over here, we're looking to do some additional upgrades and try to resurface that for pickleball courts. For the community, we have to get some sponsorships to be able to resurface that. So that's one of our goals right now because that's primarily just used for gym. It's no longer used as a tennis court. So that's something we're looking to do. And if I could just take a moment and thank Nicole. Long list that we just went through there of maintenance projects. She mentioned projects that are on the capital reserve list. There is 11 contracts that are on here right now. Things that we were able that Nicole was able to put together in the last month and a half or so. So a huge credit for all the extra effort to get all of those contracts put together. Cool. Just wanted to share that accolades of what she did.
Well, thank you. And thank you for all your help as well. So item I is to approve the bundle agreement with Frontline Technologies Group Related to, they do our professional learning, absence and time, recruit and hire, and employee evaluation system at a cost of $35,999.62 for the 24-25 fiscal year. Quite a few of us actually sat through a webinar looking at alternative vendors. Frontline continues to really be the only option, comprehensive option, without breaking up into several softwares. They're not quite there yet, but hopefully in the near future, because as you can see, this isn't a cheap software. The next one is to approve the agreement with TransFinder related to Route Finder Plus license and satellite imagery service and annual hosting at a cost of $6,600 for the 24-25 school year. This is the program that we do our routing software for transportation in. Item K, this is the third of the BCIU services agreements. This is to approve the agreement for the e-tax track software and services for the 24-25 school year with the BCIU at a cost per attached. It's dependent on number of parcels, number of interims. There's a variety of things that really impact that cost. But typically it's around $6,000-7,000 a year. The next one, item L, this would be the last one, but we are ratifying the updated roster of bus drivers for Christ Transportation for the 23-24 school year. So essentially they are done. They do have ESY and some non-pubs to finish out the year. Item M, we're starting to get into the budget stuff, is to authorize the business manager to release disbursements for expenditures from the 23-24 school year, normally held until board approval, essentially for the period June 10th to August 12th, with a ratification at the August 12th board meeting. Item N is to authorize the business manager to pay bills as necessary during the 24-25 fiscal year in accordance with school board policy 616. Item O is to authorize the business manager to make 23-24 budget transfers after June 30, 24 as required to prevent year-end over expenditures of sub-function object account codes. Item P is to appoint the Berks County Earned Income Tax Bureau as the district's 24-25 earned income tax collector per Berks TCC agreement. Item O is to appoint the Berks County Tax Claim Bureau as the district's 24-25 delinquent real estate tax collector for a commission of 5% of collections if the tax is paid by the taxpayer within 31 days of legal notice by the BCTCB. Taxpayers are responsible for the 5% commission if paid after this 31 days. The next one is to appoint our 4 tax collectors, Lorraine Meck for Long Swamp Township, Thomas Biltcliffe for Topton Borough, Gail Eckelberger for District Township, and Molly Pry, Rockland Township, as the delinquent per capita tax collectors as well for a fee of $1.65 plus the commission of 5%. Item S, this is probably the biggest thing on the agenda this evening. We are asking you to approve the 24-25 general fund budget and tax items. Item 1 is to approve the 24-25 general fund final budget totaling $36,205,833.67, similar to the proposed final, reflecting a 0.75% real estate tax increase of 0.2699 mils to a total of 36.2543. Item 2 is to adopt the 24-25 tax resolutions as attached. Item 3 is to adopt the 24-25 homestead and farmstead exclusion that provides a maximum of $357.58 real estate tax reduction for approved homestead and farmsteads funded by the gambling tax funds, Philadelphia credit reimbursement funds, and prior year over under distribution of property tax reduction funds of $1,191,811.42 as attached. So I would say kind of the most impactful part, when you're out in the community is essentially with the increase in the homestead farmstead reduction and us going with a 0.75% real estate tax reduction or increase, most people will have a tax decrease this year. So the money that comes out of their pockets, just because they've had the increase in the homestead farmstead exclusion. So that's a really positive note when you're talking to people in the community. Item 9 is just a reminder that the board approved a resolution dated June 4th of 2012, providing an option of installment payments of real estate taxes. So essentially this is where people can pay the flat rate July, October, or August, October, and December with no penalty. Item 5 is the board authorizes the business manager or designee to assign fund balance as needed to balance the net of revenue and expenditures for the 23-24 fiscal year. This amount, if any, will be determined at the completion of the audit. So you do approve this part here, but typically December or January, we will bring this to your attention to ratify the exact numbers and also as you accept the financial statements for the 23-24 school year. Item T is to approve an agreement with the closed bin to allow a textile recycling bin to be placed at the Brandywine Heights Intermediate Middle School effective June 11th, 2024 for 1 year with a reimbursable amount of 7 cents per pound per business T. This agreement shall automatically renew on an annual basis with a 30-day expiration notice at any point in time. So this is a slight revenue generator. Maybe we'll get $1,000. So we'll see how that works out. Item U is to approve the business insurance package and workers' compensation proposal from Arthur Gallagher, out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for the 24-25 fiscal year at a total annual premium of $191,411. So in 2024, you typically don't see insurance renewals where the premium is actually going down. I mean, we can look at our 12%, health insurance increase. So if you recall, we were with CBIZ for 25 plus years. This year, we actually did shop our insurance broker. We went out to RFP and decided to move forward with Arthur Gallagher. Our old broker projected that our increase was going to be, or our premiums were going to be $207,000. I would say 11 companies that we got quotes from. At the end of the day, our premium will be $191,000. So we're seeing a savings of about 16 grand. Item B is to approve the following joint food service fund bid awards with CAFCO for the 24-25 school year. Item 1, milk. We are going to go with Clover Farms. So essentially there is no RFP or bid for milk, but we have a longstanding relationship with Clover Farms and they've been a great partner, so we'll continue to go with them. Item 2, bakery commodities, Morabito was the awarded bid. Item 3, ice cream commodities, Hershey Creamery was the winner of that bid. Item 4, tea commodities with Swiss Dairies. Item 5, there's essentially a line item bid. So there was a combination for grocery commodities. You're going to see Driscoll, Feasers, and Gold Star. And then this one actually came in Friday night. The cafeteria paper and smallware supplies, it was awarded to Singer Equipment Company. We're almost there, guys. 2 more. So item W is to approve an agreement with Devopar Consulting to provide up to 24 hours of consulting services as needed between August 1st through October 31st, specifically focusing on acting as a mentor for the newly hired directors of buildings and grounds at a cost not to exceed $3,360. Again, so we're approving this as needed. He is a former director of facilities in school districts. So again, we might use it, we might not, but it's there if we need it. Item X is to approve the agreement with Long Swap Learning Center to operate before and after school childcare at the elementary school for the 24-25 school year. Again, this is a longstanding relationship that's gone very well with Long Swamp Learning Center, so we'll continue that. There was no increase in the rent. Essentially, there was a nominal increase, less than $1 to account for essentially the increase in custodial costs. So that is all I got.
Great job. Any questions?
Good evening. Nicole, it's a shame you haven't been busy at all, getting
No.
nothing done whatsoever. Just a couple of quick questions. Okay, Mrs. Honich, this one might be for you. So on page 4, item G3, this is the one where we're approving the content for Brandywine Heights teachers to teach the content provided by this outside organization. Can you just talk for a minute about how many teachers? I know we kind of rolled that out a few years ago as like a test and it's been growing, but I don't know where we're at currently. So if you could just give us a little update.
So currently, that's $99 for the full year. So it actually fits 2 students per seat for the year, first semester versus second semester. Mr. Kistler for Career Financial, for all students that cannot fit that course in their schedule and all full-time virtual academy students, they're taking that online for Edgenuity. So it ends up pacing them, keeping them on track. So that's Mr. Kistler. That's about 30 students per year. And then Mr. Cole has an online health and phys ed program, 2 years of it, freshman year. So wellness and fitness 1, phys ed 1, and then the second version of that, 10th grade online as well, both semesters. But we actually moved away, so I don't know if you recall, but last year we did freshman seminar through Edgenuity. We had a lot of feedback from students. It wasn't as valuable as what we were trying to teach them, so we shifted to Google Classroom platform, and the teachers are teaching group lessons and having discussions in the classroom, and then they're using the online platform to learn more about how to successfully use that in their high school career. So that's actually, we got a lot better feedback from our students, and it's just more applicable to their career as a freshman skills course.
Great, thank you very much. Next question I have. So item H, facilities and maintenance number 2. This is the contract to deal with field maintenance. So I think recently we approved like some cool fancy line painter that's robotic or whatever. For future, have we explored, there's technology that's basically, it's like the robot like that for cutting grass. So I don't know, how advanced the technology is. I know, professional folks who are in that industry have it and talk about how cool it is. Like, I don't know, you satellite map it somehow and it marks the line. This thing just runs all day long, cutting grass back and forth, wherever you want it to be. So I don't think that costs are crazy. So it might be something to consider if you haven't looked into that yet.
I've been honestly monitoring that, and from what I've researched, they're a couple years out, but they're talking about they'll even have zero turns that essentially will run themselves. So the typical landscaping crew won't have the person running the machine anymore. They'll pull up and it'll basically unload the zero turn, and then the landscaper can do the trimming while the machine's actually the zero turns running. So the systems that are there now are there are commercial ones, but the threshold of price is not quite there yet, but the technology's coming. The technology's definitely coming.
Okay, cool.
So, and I would say with that, so we currently use Hirsch, who does our mowing. They're essentially, this is their last mowing season. So their contract, we will have to go out to bid for another 2-year agreement. So maybe things will align. We'll go out to this 2-year agreement, and then perhaps when that one's coming up for expiration, that might be a good time. It might be more affordable for us as well.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Okay, so item number 9, which is on page 6, this is the one switching from FMX. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
FMX to Master Library. So I sort of raised the question offline last meeting before the vote. Does it make sense to approve that contract for software when the building and grounds director position was open, and while you guys were kind of trying to patch things together and hold it together? So it sounds like we backed off of that, if I understand correctly, and now you're recommending this master library piece, which has better functionality and integration and will save us a little bit of money. The question then is, we're about to welcome a new person to head that team. Is this technology that our new leader of that domain feels comfortable with?
Yeah, so I actually had an email exchange with our new director of buildings and grounds to be. He has he has not used either softwares, but he's familiar with like School Dude and a couple other platforms, which if you know how to use one, you'll learn pretty quick how to use the others. And I told him, you know, the pros and like why we were looking to do this, and he did say he was in favor of kind of consolidating the packages and streamlining everything. So we did have a brief interaction.
All right. We don't want to stick you with something that you're not comfortable with, right? Okay. The tennis courts, which is the next item, number 10. So 75,000 to refinish the high school tennis court. What is the expected life of a new tennis court?
They said the last time they did it, if I remember right, was 10 years ago. So about 10 years. So sometimes you'll eat 14, maybe 15, 10 years is your average.
Okay. So maybe 10 to 14.
Does that involve removal and new installation, or are they just putting a top coat on?
They'll put a top coat on, and wherever there's cracks, they actually will cut the crack out, and they put like a mesh in there to make sure that it can't separate again.
Okay. You also mentioned the middle school and intermediate, this building's tennis court, and how you're considering turning into a pickleball court, which sounds like it'll provide more functionality and use currently. Did we not experience some sinkholes or some like real bad surface hole type damage recently?
That was actually the high school.
Oh, that was high school. Okay. I remember you circulating photos, and it was like pretty bad damage.
Yeah, it was a pretty significant hole.
Okay.
Yes, that has been filled and patched. So they go in, and when they fill it, they excavate it out, and then they'll put like almost like a concrete fill in there. It's not concrete, but essentially that kind of, so it solidifies that and anywhere else around it. So it's very fluid, but turns hard. And so it'll get into cracks and then just keep pumping in as long as it goes. So that stabilizes that space then.
Is there any concern that if we spend 75 grand to resurface that high school tennis court, that more of these underground weaknesses may exist? I mean, we have a long history of sinkhole-like issues over at that location. Like,
the way the court's set up, it's actually weird where it happened because the parking lot comes down this way. Where it happened was over here. So it's actually built up a little bit. So geographically, you would think that the water would come in and then cause a sinkhole in this space. But for some reason, it happened over here. Ultimately, if we're going to use that as a competitive tennis court, we have to do something because the cracks are pretty significant. So there could be a chance. I'm not saying it's not going to happen again. It was odd where it did happen, but we don't have a history of it at least.
okay. And there's no, for lack of a better way to say it, like X-ray-like technology that would enable us to know really what is the stability of the surface under the surface we're about to spend 75 grand fixing.
Not really. They do some kind of penetrating sonar penetrating things for massive projects, but I don't know quite honestly if that can go through concrete or not, or macadam or not.
And maybe the cost benefit isn't there, but yeah, it's just a little concerning because that's a significant investment.
Yeah.
We obviously have to do it because we have to support the sports team and provide the functionality for the community. But yeah, it just is a little worrisome. Okay. The next item I had a little note about was item 12, which is the flooring. So elementary school cafeteria, high school library, the high school auditorium. Maybe it's just me, but lower level, roughly 24 grand. Upper level, which seems smaller, is more than the entire lower level. What's driving that cost?
The complexity. So there's
Because
there's
it's steps.
stairs, and also currently they do not have it, but it's kind of like a little rubber edging that essentially is glow in the dark. So now when it's dark and they're putting on a show and you go in and out, there's nothing showing you that there's steps there. So we did from a safety perspective. We're adding that rubber trim that'll glow in the dark so you can see where the steps are.
Have to take all the seats
I
out.
was saying the big piece is they have to remove all the seats.
For the lower half, they don't have to take the seats out because that's concrete.
So if you think about it, when you sit in those seats, it's just that painted floor.
Yeah.
When you go up top, they actually have to remove all the seats.
Because it's carpet.
And put it down. So we actually looked at not putting carpet back underneath it.
Right.
But there was a concern about acoustics and why that was purposely done that way. So we're going to go through the cost of putting it down, putting it back. I didn't want someone to say the same thing about us that they did what we're saying about them. Like, why in the world would they have done this? But it seems like we almost have to.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, item 16 on page 7. I'm sure the costs are in the attachment for A and B, Long Acre Company, and for K&D Factory Service. For maybe just the meeting minutes, would you be sure to incorporate the cost in the actual agenda item so that it's visible to everybody?
Yes.
Might be, let's see, there's so much. Can we pull out item S, which is the budget for a separate vote? We would, I guess, have to have the motioner and seconder be okay with that?
Right now?
Sure.
Thank you. Page 9, item T, the clothespin. So, kind of cool idea for fundraising. It's not going to drive a whole lot of revenue, but I guess it can't hurt. But I would just share a concern that these bins tend to be viewed from time to time as garbage bins. And they tend to accumulate stuff that is not prescribed, like mattresses and tires and trash and beer cans and all sorts of not attractive, not the way we want to present ourselves sorts of stuff. So I'm not so concerned that I'll withhold my support of it, but I would ask that this be monitored extremely closely to ensure that we don't, basically, we're not putting out a dumpster for people to dump their trash and creating that kind of community negative vibe.
Yeah, that was something we absolutely took into consideration. It was kind of weighing the pros and the cons. There's not a lot of areas like that within a community, at least locally here within town to have. So kind of was a natural opportunity for us. Again, we're not going to get a ton of money, maybe $1,000 a year. So it's more of an opportunity for the community than it is a fund generation. This company does have an electronic monitoring in it, and so what they'll do is if it gets within over 50%, they'll send crews to pick out and clean them out. They'll also give a key to the school district, so if a kid would accidentally put their laptop in there or something, we can get that out.
I thought you were going full body.
Full body, we can get the kid out. They also will take responsibility for 10 feet around the bin and come out 24 to 48 hours to clean something if it would be unsightly. Now, we obviously can take care of something more quickly. If it becomes problematic, there's a 30-day out, so we can get out of it pretty quick. They are looking to put it up in this parking lot, kind of in the grassy area, so it's not going to take any parking spaces away, but it'll be at least public where someone can pull in pretty easily and drop stuff off.
Okay. And the gal who was a school board rep, Tatiana, who ran the BH Clothing Circle so successfully, provided that kind of similar community service, but in a much different model. Is that program, does it still exist?
It does, yeah.
Okay. Are we, by saying yes to this, are we competing with her?
I don't think so. I think it pulls from a different range of audience. I think this is going to be people that want to clean out their closet and just put stuff where they were looking for particular clothes for high school students to kind of repurpose.
Okay.
So it could. And again, if it does become problematic, we can get out of it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think her program might have started that way, but I believe I remember seeing her. It was like from infant through adult clothing that she ended up taking in.
She did, yeah.
Yeah, and then providing free to others in the community rather than collecting in a bin and having some company take it wherever they take it and do whatever they do with it. Yeah, okay. All right. Nicole, you proactively answered my question about the insurance piece. It just, long time CBIZ relationship. Obviously, insurance rates are skyrocketing right now across all categories. A Pittsburgh company as opposed to a local company. I'd prefer to see a local company, but if we're saving 16 grand as opposed to having to absorb a 16 or more price increase, I guess it makes sense. And I think that's all I had in terms of comments. Thank you for obliging.
Any additional comments or questions? Yes, sir.
We're gonna be removing two heating oil tanks.
Yes.
How are we gonna keep the kids warm?
So we use gas. We use gas. Yeah. 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 They're yeah. They.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be removal and disposal of the.
Correct. They're obsolete.
So we don't leave them anymore.
Correct.
For any reason. Well, I don't know if it's coming with the current Michael speak. I was thinking we might be putting up some solar. I'm not. Okay, that's all I need.
Yeah. All right. Yep.
Any additional comments? Hearing none. Could I get a roll call for everything except for S?
Mr. Hopner,
Yes.
Mr. Hojo,
Yes.
Mrs. Hume,
Yes.
Mr. Regular,
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Stevens,
Yes.
Mrs. Waller.
Yes.
Mrs. Eisenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Regular,
Yes.
9 yeas, motion passes.
Right. Could I get a roll call for letter S, please? Oh, do you need a motion?
So moved.
Second. Could I now have a roll call?
Mr. Hojo,
Yes.
Mrs. Hume,
Yes.
Mr. Regular,
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Stevens,
Yes.
Mrs. Eisenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Hopner,
Yes.
Mrs. Waller,
Yes.
Mr. Regular,
Yes.
9 yeas, motion passes.
Moving on to
So,
superintendent's report.
Mr. Wagaman, just if no one else is going to make a comment, thank you to the business office and Nicole, you and your team for all the work on the budget. It's yeoman's work, a huge project, and we just roll through it year after year. So thank you. And to the administrative team for all of your input and support.
Can I get a motion in a second for the superintendent report?
Hold on.
Okay.
When do we pass all these resolutions? I was there.
They are S. It's S2.
S2?
Yep.
We don't have to go with the individual.
No, we typically do not.
I thought we did.
No, we just usually put them on as an attachment, as a single.
Okay.
Yep.
Then we can tax
We're good.
a lot of people. Okay. All right, thank you.
0.75%.
All right, where were we?
Motion second.
Motion in a second.
Superintendent.
Wishful thinking. So moved.
Eisenhower. Okay.
We're still waiting.
Superintendent report A. Here we go, everybody. graduates. We had 113 graduates. Thank you for all those that were able to attend graduation. It was a wonderful ceremony. Great job to Mr. Jinich, Mr. Strosky, and the high school staff for pulling that graduation together. Again, appreciate everyone that was willing to come. We had close to 1,000 spectators come. We know that because we had to buy front chairs for those. So great event. Item B is to approve the dual enrollment agreement with RAC. We have 22 approved courses. We're looking to potentially add an additional one that we currently offer with that dual enrollment agreement. Item C is similar to what you had approved with the business manager. This is to authorize myself to make employment commitments to qualified applicants. That way we can lock them in, and then those employment commitments get ratified at the school board meeting in August. Item D to item I are curriculum items. So Mr. Farina is going to share a little bit about what these items are.
Good evening, everyone. Just to go through the curriculums, as a reminder, as we've been talking about the agriculture program a lot this school year. We are currently looking to approve the first 4 courses that will be offered next school year. As we shared earlier this year, we have over 80 students who are participating in our first year of the agricultural education program. So Miss Paige Rohrbach, who is now Mrs. Paige Sheeler, she was married over the weekend. She was the candidate we hired back in January. She has spent the last 5 or 6 months while student teaching and preparing for her wedding, writing these first 4 courses. So we submit them this evening for the first reading for ultimate approval in August. And just kind of an aside to the curriculum, the May 31st deadline to submit to PDE for approval of our ag program, we submitted everything on May 13th. So we were about 2 weeks earlier. They will take over the next month or so to look at and review all of the programs, provide any feedback to us if there's anything that we need to alter or change prior to receiving that final approval. So this is not a you submitted it, and if we don't like it, we're not going to approve it type of process. This is something that is collaborative with the Department of Education. So we are awaiting any feedback that they have for us. As of, I wouldn't say 15 minutes ago, they have not reviewed anything in our program, so I don't have any feedback in that regard. We were also looking at our first reading of the English language learner. This is what's typically referred to as ESL. Curriculum. These are curriculum that help our students who are English language learners. Mrs. Gardner, our ELL teacher, worked collaboratively with the IU to develop this new curriculum. And if you do review it, as you can see at the younger grades, it's almost banded because, again, as students are at that younger grade, they could work more collaboratively. And I'm sorry, or individual. And then at the higher levels, they're more collaborative as those skills are more developed. We are also looking to approve some secondary English language arts curriculum. If you recall, we did a final approval of our 6 through 12 ELA curriculum back in March, but we had one teacher who was a curriculum writer who was on leave. That teacher has returned, and the 4 courses that they wrote have been submitted here. Those are both on the BIS. On this document for you as well for the first reading of those curriculum. And then lastly, we have our K-12 science. As you recall, over the past 2 years, we have been talking about how the Department of Education has adopted the NGSS science standards, now dubbed the PA Steel standards. We have spent last year and this year working on professional development because it's not just a standard shift, it's an instructional shift. And our teachers have been working on the curriculum to align to those new standards throughout this school year. One thing that is important to note is that these standards do not technically go into effect until July 1st of 2025. So we do know we are a year early. We are a year early because this allows our teachers some time to work through these new standards. And the PSSAs for 2025 are being changed to the new standards. They won't count. So is shifting from 4th grade to 5th grade. So in the coming school year, our 5th graders and 8th graders who will be taking the science PSSA, that test will not count for them or against them. The state is using that as a field test on the new standards. So we want to allow our K-8 students an opportunity to have a year earlier on the new standards. Our teachers a year earlier on the new standards to be prepared for that field test. when that ultimate change comes over in July. We do have our high school curriculum as well. We are looking to approve our applied biology, and biology honors as well through the first reading this evening, second reading in August. But that curriculum won't go into effect until the 2025 school year. The reason for that is the biology keystone is not changing this school year. So the biology keystone will still operate the way it has operated. So we don't want to shift the instructional model and the standards to something that is not going to benefit those students taking that test. So we are looking to approve it. There is a chance that something may come up this year that we have to go ahead and reapprove biology again before 2025-26. But Mrs. Lambert was gracious enough to write that curriculum for us prior to her retirement. So we do have that there for approval. And then lastly, the last two items for me are textbook approvals as per policy. Our world language textbooks for Spanish and German. The German classes, this is a new copyright to the textbook we have been using. And Spanish, the program that we have been using is no longer being published. So we did a thorough investigation of new Spanish resources. And this is the program that we are going with. It is a program through Savvis, which we utilize them for a number of different resources. And ELA, we are approving our 6 through 12 ELA resources. And again, these are continuations, new copyrights, newer versions of the programs that we have been using for our ELA class. So that's the piece on curriculum. It is not anywhere near as exciting as the ice cream commodities that Mrs. Delgarico was discussing with you a few items ago, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions the board may have regarding curriculum.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Farina. Two other items in the superintendent report. Item J is to approve the BCIU guest teacher program. That is a fee of $900. We had 3 guest teachers last year that through this program we were able to have a substitute. So it's definitely a benefit. And then item K is to approve the No Kids Hungry summer feed grant. That is a $28,000 grant that it was a competitive grant that we were lucky to be able to secure. Again, a huge thanks to Nicole for pulling that together with her team, Mrs. Kowaleski included. And just a few statistics on that. So our first session is going to be happening this Thursday. We have 200, along with that first session happening this Thursday, we were gifted with the ability to have an audit of the program the very first day. So we're going to have the first day and an audit from PDE at the same time. Really exciting. And just from a needs perspective, we have 250 students that have signed up for this program already. And that relates to about 20% of our population. So it is definitely a needed program. It is free to our students. It's a one-day pickup, and they'll get meals for the 5 days, breakfast and lunches that will all be distributed at one time. So very positive to see that great turnout so far with that. The only other thing I'd like to add is for enrollment report. So far, we have 73 students signed up for kindergarten at the end of May here. In comparison, last year we had 70. So we're pretty much on target, a little bit ahead. The previous year we had 69. That is all I have for superintendent report.
Questions?
It was just to look my way. One quick question. So item C. So what would it look like if we did not approve item C?
So if we do not approve that, and I strongly urge you to consider that, if we would have a candidate and we do not have this in place and they would get another offer, essentially there's no commitment to them at this point. There's no board action, because whenever I meet with a candidate, I always, because I meet with every candidate, whether it's a new custodian, a new teacher, a new administrator, and the way I explain it is, I like to meet with new candidates because it's an opportunity for me to get to know them, who's going to be working with our students, make sure they're going to fit for our culture. But ultimately, it's a school board that approves. They're the only ones that can hire a new staff member. This basically puts that in play. So I'm basically hiring them. If that doesn't happen, they sit all summer. And if a job opportunity comes that they can get secured, we could lose the candidate. So that's why I appreciate your willingness to do that, because it allows us to retain and attract, and when we find and attract a good candidate, to lock them in.
So I guess I'm just trying to understand, is this even necessary? Because unless we're not following our normal procedure, you already do this, even outside of board meetings.
So when
Don't you?
No. So when I meet with a candidate, we'll go through the process
Mm-hmm.
and I will make a recommendation, which is on the board agenda tonight for
Okay.
your consideration to hire. In this case, I will extend the hire to them and they will officially be hired with a ratification at the school board meeting in August.
So they would start working,
Correct.
like their
That's
official
the
start date would be, okay, so that's the difference. Okay. Thank you for
Yep.
clarifying.
Yep, absolutely. I'm glad you asked the question.
Anything else? All right, can I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Hume,
Yes.
Mr. Reitauer,
Yes.
Mr. Sheets,
Yes.
Mr. Stubitz,
Yes.
Mrs. Wallizer, Mrs. Eisenhart,
Yes.
Mr. Hefner,
Yes.
Mr. Hohenschuld,
Yes.
Mr. Wagaman,
Yes.
9 yeas, motion passes.
Moving on to personnel report. Can I get a motion in a second?
So moved, Eisenhart.
Moving right along.
All right, 4 more pages, guys. 4 more pages. All right, there is some retirements and resignations that are in front of you this evening. There's 5 of them. Mrs. Shelley Adams, who we had a chance to recognize earlier for 26 years of service to the school district. We had the resignation of Miss Kim Unger, who is one of our nurses. She's moving out of the area to the Carolinas. We have a resignation of one of our food service substitutes. We have the resignation of our athletic director, Mrs. Conrad. And then we have a placeholder for resignations for co-curricular coaches. Under B, we have a change of status. So there's one change of status that is for Mr. Riggins, who is currently our intermediate middle school principal, to move into the role of director of athletics and facilities. We have item 2, change of status for support staff. That is the change of Mrs. Joan Hoke as a part-time food service worker to a substitute. Item B is kind of the opposite. It's taking Mrs. Megan Ruth and moving her from a food service substitute to a part-time employee, 5.75 hours a day. It's a 10-month position at $13.55 an hour. Mrs. Shelley Bortz, who was a school nurse, substitute nurse for us, is shifting to a school nurse, full-time, 10-month, $25 an hour. She will be working primarily at the elementary and the high school. In terms of assignment of staff, some of you had a chance to meet Mr. Molatoris, Mr. Dean Molatoris. He is sitting here tonight, and thank you for joining us, Dean. He has a deep background in the world of facilities. We were very lucky to be able to bring him on and recommend him to the school board. We went through an interview process. We interviewed 9 candidates originally, had a finalist of 2. Had them end up doing a facility walkthrough and then do a presentation to those that were on the second round interview committee. And then went through, again, a host of other questions, did some extensive background searches and recommendation checks. And Dean fits the role completely. He has a very eclectic background, starting in the trades as an electrician, moving himself into management. He has an MBA and is also working towards his HR degree. So we are very lucky to have him. He's going to be a great fit. He already has started filling in and funneling and meeting with administration. I think he's going to be a great fit for the team as well. From a culture perspective, from a leadership perspective, servant leadership mindset, which is exactly what we're trying to cultivate here within the school district. So welcome, Dean. Not officially, give us a couple of pages and we'll get there. Professional staff, we have 2 appointments this evening. Very excited to be able to lock these 2 folks in already. The first one is a replacement for Mrs. Lori Angstadt, longtime social studies teacher. This is Erin Bross. She comes to us with a master's degree, which is very beneficial because we can sustain the dual enrollment credit because a master's degree is required for the dual enrollment classes. So she comes to us having some experience outside of education and then moving into the education world and becoming our social studies candidate. Mrs. Amber Bollinger is the recommended candidate for Mrs. Lambert's replacement. Very lucky to find this individual as well. Mrs. Bollinger was Mrs. Lambert's student teacher. She is currently teaching the exact same classes that Mrs. Lambert's teaching in another school district. So bio, honors bio, anatomy, physiology, we couldn't have found a better person. Oh, and by the way, lives in the school district with children. So it is a perfect fit. We're really excited to be able to have her and lock her in. And similarly, we'll be able to continue on with dual enrollment classes and maybe even expand some. So we're excited about that opportunity for the school district and primarily for our students. That is a great opportunity. Item 3, support staff. We have an agreement with Miss Lindsay McGarry. She is going to be taking over as the elementary head cook. And so she is going to also be working to perform some summer custodial work at $17.25 an hour. Mrs. Heidi Hofstetter, who is the Virtual Academy assistant, is going to be working as the Camp Spark program teacher. We also have Mr. Adam Baker, who is the high school guidance counselor, who is working to help with summer workers this summer. And he's helping oversee, also working as a summer worker, but overseeing all our summer workers. We have 2 students working outside. We have 1 working in the elementary school, 2 at the intermediate school, middle school, and 2 at the high school. So that he is helping coordinate all of their schedules and keeping them on task throughout the day. He's the point of contact for absences, etc. We're looking to appoint Mrs. Meredith Rader as the second school nurse. If you remember, we had 2 retirements, resignations of school nurses, 1 moving into retirement, 1 moving out of the area. This is the second hire. She will be the school nurse, again, sharing duties at the elementary school as well as the high school. Long-term substitute, we're looking to hire Miss Kistler to be the 3rd grade learning support. She was the runner-up to one of our other positions, and it was unfortunate we just didn't have 2 positions to be able to offer the candidates that were there, but this is a great backfill for her and gave her on staff, and she's super excited to be working here at Brandywine. In fact, she's turned down other contracted positions just to be working here in the school district and leaving a contracted position to come to Brandywine. So she's super excited to be working here in the school district. We have co-curricular positions. There are the list of fall athletic coach recommendations that are in front of you this evening. For the most part, if I look at this quickly, I believe we have all our positions filled and ready for the fall, which is great and ahead of schedule. We also have athletic event staff list that is in front of you tonight for consideration. We have the recommendation for department heads for this coming year. Those department heads are all the core areas for the different curriculum areas. Under item E is the leaves. We have 2 different unpaid leave requests. These are for different reasons. Some for illnesses. Both of these employees are also parents of children in the school district, so a lot of it surrounds around not having a lot of sick days in their account. They only have 4 sick days and 1 personal day, and so if their children get sick or they themselves get sick, it expires those days pretty quickly, and that, as well as one of the employees, had a vacation day, vacation in there. Item F is to approve additional days for some of our professional staff to complete tasks over summer. We have our 2 school psychologists for 10 days, our high school guidance counselors 9 days, and then our 3 guidance counselors at the middle school, intermediate, and middle school for 2 days. That's consistent to what we've been doing in the past. F2 is the approval of the 24-25 salaries for Act 93 managers and support staff. That goes through a full evaluation process. We set goals for the administrators, for the managers and support staff. We do a full evaluation process, sit down with all the employees, go through the evaluation, and then that yields the increases for this coming year. We have the rating for myself, as well as the salary for myself for this coming year. I'd just like to take a moment and thank the board for the generous salary, as well as the rating of distinguished. It continues to be an honor to be able to serve here. This is the end of my 11th year. I am so appreciative of the partnership we have here. I brag about our school board all the time because there are so many other boards that there's challenges and political things to get in the way. We all have our different opinions, but we can come here and work together and keep children our focus. So I thank you for that, for your partnership, for your support, because collectively here, as the 10 of us, we've been able to get a lot of great things done as a school district, and I'm very proud of that work. So thank you for your continued support. It's greatly appreciated. We have the item F4, the substitute starting rates for staff, and then F5 is the starting rates for hires for staff. Item 6 is the employee handbooks for our faculty handbook, as well as our support staff and manager handbook. Item 7 is the mentors assigned to our new teachers. So you can see Miss Lipinski will be serving as Mrs. Rohrbach's mentor. Mrs. Jessica Coast, as a social studies teacher, will be working with Mrs. Erin Bross. Miss Erin Davis, who is one of our elementary learning support teachers, will be working with Miss Kistler. And then Miss Krista Hagerty, who's a science teacher, will be working with our new science teacher, Mrs. Bollinger. That is the extent of our personnel items. Any questions on those?
Just a quick question, Mr. Pottinger, the faculty handbook and the support staff and manager handbooks, any changes that we need to be aware of?
There are a few changes in the support staff handbook. Oh, I didn't print that out in front of me. They are noted in yellow. Do you mind just point that out real quick? So under the full-time and part-time 10-month secretaries, there is additional days that are in there for staff to be able to complete jobs over the summer. So those that are 10-month, there's a window of time that they can do work over the summer. They have to close out, otherwise they're working just during the school year. And so this allows for up to 5 additional days to be granted at the administrative discretion. So it's not guaranteed, but there's 5 additional days to be granted. So that is one of the changes. And then the other change we've been talking about for a while is the change for our secretary staff. Right now, there's a list of holidays, and it's for our secretary staff to shift. They're currently in line with holidays with our custodians, and this would put them in line with holidays for our managers. So basically what it does is over Christmas, there's I think 2 or 3 days over Christmas when the secretaries have to come in for holidays. There's no administration here. There's no principals. It's kind of silly for them to come. And so it shifts to be in line with managers, so they would not come in those days. Those are the changes that are there.
So on that example you just gave, we're actually granting additional days off. They're not paid days off. They're just, you don't have to work that day.
Holidays, yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Sorry, I should have pointed that out earlier.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Hearing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Reitauer,
Yes.
Mr. Sheets,
Yes.
Mr. Subitz,
Yes.
Mrs. Walliser,
Yes.
Mrs. Eisenhart,
Yes.
Mr. Hefner,
Yes.
Mr. Hohenschuld,
Yes.
Mr. Reitauer.
You asked me
I'm sorry,
already.
Mrs. Hune.
Yes.
Mr. Wagaman.
Yes.
9 yeas, motion passes.
Is there any other questions or comments? Yes.
I'm just looking for one of the seniors that people will come in. Is there a way to departments, students, and how you want to get to the curve? Do they know this really makes a different direction? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Great suggestion. Thank you. It's a good perspective. Thank you very much.
Anything else?
The only quick thing I have, so we did, sorry. we did last month, we had Mrs. Menino come and talk about what she's doing. This month we had the presentation from Marcy. Did you like that format that we called it Dine and Discover, where we do a light dinner before it just to give a quick update? We're not going to do it every month, but do you like that? Do you want to continue that?
Yeah, I think it's great.
Okay. Just want to get some feedback on that. I said we would try it for 2, get some feedback. Just want to see if you liked it or not. At least the idea is you make investments in key programs, and if we can just give you some talking points to it or show you where the investment's going, that's the goal of this. Okay, that's all I asked. That's the only thing
I do need to announce we had an executive session May 21st in regards to personnel. If there is nothing else, could I get a motion and a second for adjournment?
Second.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your summer.
Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations, Dean.
Next meeting is